homework. So you had questions 1 through 5 on page number 8. So number 1, name the Portuguese explorer who sailed all the way around Africa to India in 1498. Genesis.
The Portuguese explorer who sailed all the way around Africa to India in 1498 was Vasco da Gama.
Good job. That was very good. Complete sentence as well. Number 2, who finally agreed to finance Columbus's expedition? Chris.
France. Isn't it King Ferdinand when I wrote what I think it's right?
Okay. King Ferdinand is correct, but was he the King of France?
Britain?
Nope.
England?
Nope.
Spain?
Spain. So King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel, or Isabella technically, of Spain. Alright, number 3. Name the 3 ships Columbus led on his first voyage to the New World. Ethan.
The Nina Bonita Santa Maria Santa Maria.
Santa Maria. Alright, what's your complete sentence? So we have practice with that.
Oh, I thought it was a complete sentence.
I just didn't hear the second
The
half.
Nina Pinta and whatever. And Santa Maria Santa Maria.
Good job. Alright, number 4. Who is credited with being the first to realize that Columbus had discovered a new continent? Brecken, do you remember? If it's okay if you don't. Alright.
I got the wrong answer.
You got the wrong answer?
How do you?
I
It's
know.
okay. It's okay. Alright.
The first person to be credited with being the first to realize that Columbus had discovered the new continent was Amerigo Vespucci.
Good job. And the number 5. Name the imaginary line that divided the newly discovered land between Spain and Portugal. And who originally drew this line? Alright, Chris.
The line of demarcation was the invisible line.
Good job. And who drew it?
Exactly.
Yes. So, as a side note, make sure you answer your papers incomplete sentences. This is day 2. We won't. But just make sure that for future reference that you check to make sure, because yes, history is sneaky some days. You try to stick in multiple questions underneath the line, so just be careful and read your whole thing. Alright, Genesis, you may finish it.
The line was really drawn by Pedro Cabral.
Okay, he was the Brazil explorer that helped on he was the explorer for Portugal that helped found Brazil. Who was the Pope? Alright, Alexander. Sorry. Ethan.
Pope Alexander the Sixth.
Good job, yes. Alright, you can go ahead and put your homework away now. Alright, really quick before I forget and talk about this later. We're going to talk about your editorial. So, if you want to have out a piece of paper so you can write down what I'm going over, you can't. I'm going to give you a handout though, because I'm tired of students losing their handwritten copies and then not knowing how to format anymore. So, this is how I want my editorial to look. An editorial is basically your current event, but this is big kid current event basically. These are harder. So notice that the heading's the same as what you've been used to. So first and last name, the editorial topic, and the date. Alright, the editorial topic is important because as you look at this, you notice, hey, wait, there's 2 articles. Yes. So you need to pick a topic. I don't mind for this first one. Your topic can be coronavirus. And then I'll probably throw out coronavirus after I hear 4 articles or more about coronavirus. I might throw out coronavirus at that point. But you need to find something about coronavirus. Or you might can find 2 articles saying, should we wear masks? Should we not wear masks? And find, okay, what would be a topic? Okay, should you wear a mask out in public all the time? Should it be optional? You can talk about abortion if you want to. You can talk about the upcoming presidential election. Hopefully you're aware the presidential election is in November. So hopefully you're aware that's coming up. So if you want to talk about the presidential candidate, Joe Biden, or the presidential candidate, President Trump, if you want to just make sure that because these are presidential candidates, you want to be respectful. But yes, if you want to talk about it, you can. So just be aware of it. So that's what you put for your editorial topic. It does not have to be the literal same event. Sometimes students, they get bogged down trying to find about the exact same thing at the exact same time from 2 different sources. Pick a general topic. If you want to talk about gun rights, then just write gun rights at the top and then just find 2 articles about gun rights. Or if you want to write coronavirus, then pick 2 different articles about coronavirus. If you want to talk about masks specifically, you have to have 2 articles. So you'll notice that you write your editorial topic, whatever it is, the presidential election, whether or not we should have sports. I used to tell students to not do their editorials just on sports, but that's not an issue right now because we don't really have them a whole lot. So, raise your hand. Alright, so if basketball's up, then you can talk about should we still have basketball? Should basketball be banned as well? Or should all the sports be able to come back? So if you want to talk about sports and coronavirus, so that's fine. But don't just talk about sports and sports stats. I don't care how well the basketball game went. I don't wanna read an entire editorial about it. No. Alright, let me get through all the format stuff and then wait. Alright, so citation of article number 1. So this is the exact same last year if you had me last year. So I want the title of your article. Exactly, it's how it looks in the newspaper or online. The publication, who published it? So ABC, Fox News, CNN, the Ledger Inquirer. Make sure it comes from a valid news source. Don't come from some sketchy site. Okay, make sure it's a real one. So pick one, no. So make sure it's a real one for it. Date it was published, it's gotta be from 2 weeks from today or 3 weeks from next week. So that'll help you out for it, but I mean, it's basically just saying I want one within the last 2 weeks from today. Now if you want to wait and do them next Tuesday, because they're due next Wednesday, that's up to you, but I don't recommend that. But yes, your first one will be next Wednesday. I'm just letting you know right now. Hang on, let me get through all of it. Alright, yeah, so date was published, date you read it. If you read it / found it the night before, that sounds stressful, but alright. I just want to make sure that if you're getting one from online, that unless you found it in a reasonable time. So just make sure though, the right date was published too. I had someone one time try to pull one from 3 years ago. Don't do that again. So I don't remember who did it, but somebody tried it. Wait, raise your hand. Okay, is it a question or a comment? I can't wait. Okay, just wait. Alright, begin writing your summary. So 5 to 10 sentences, because you have 2 of them, I'm not gonna put like a space range. But you should just be giving just a brief summary, 5 to 10 sentences. So just say what the article said, don't plagiarize. All of you I think are old enough to understand what that means. So put it in your own words. So like if you're telling someone, hey, I read this article. It was about masks and how we have to wear masks in public and about how everyone should wear a mask because Japan already does that. And so if you would just put it in your own words basically. So 5 to 10 sentences, just give the facts. You have a blank line at the end of the summary, and then you start citation for article number 2. This is the major difference between a regular current event and an editorial, is you gotta have 2 articles about the same topic. The same citation for your second article, blank line, begin your summary again, and then summarize that article. Finally, at the end, you get to give your opinion. It can be at least 3 sentences, so I should have at least 3 sentences of an educated, well-informed opinion, not, I hate masks, this made me sad, you should pray for them. No, like a good, solid, educated thing. Well, yes, I realize we all probably hate the mask, and yes, it makes us sad, and yes, we should pray for everybody, but I don't need that in an educated opinion. Okay, Chris, now what's your question?
So instead of citing it, can we print out the article because that's the citation at the bottom?
No, actually I need both. You're going to cite the article and then bring your articles to class. You get points just for bringing the articles to class, but since I have to go check your summary against the article, if I have to go dig it up and go find it online, because that's extra work for me, points coming off. So basically it's considered 3 points just to bring the articles with you to class. So print them off. If you know you're getting them from online, print them. Print them off ahead of time. Do not wait till the night before. Do not wait till morning of. Your printer, I think, can sense it and decides that it hates life and won't do it. So just make sure that you can do it ahead of time. That's just how life works some days. So make sure you're doing all of it ahead of time. Like I said, this is in 1 week basically from tomorrow. So they're due next Wednesday. Anyone else have any other questions though about how to format it? Yes, Ethan.
So with the title, you said that you had to write the name of the top of the
like whatever your topic will be for your editorial topic. So if you want to do coronavirus, or if you want to do basketball and corona, or if you want to do basketball players and masks, or whatever it is you want to talk about, that's fine. But find 2 articles about that. It doesn't have to be the exact same game, but like about the topic.
You said something about having to write the title.
Oh yeah. For your citation of your articles, I want the title of the article, the publication. What do you mean?
Which 2 out of the 2 articles?
Both. They're the exact same. So I want title of article 1, title of article 2, publication of article 1.
There's 2 of them?
Ethan, I've said that like 5 times.
There's
two.
No, I heard that.
Alright,
I didn't know there was 2.
so there are 2 articles. So there's going to be a citation and a summary for 1 article. A citation and a summary for another article. You can give me 1 opinion. If you want to give me 2 opinions, okay. But 1 opinion, I only need 1. But there should be a citation, summary, opinion at the bottom or on the back. If you want to say that's fine as well. Okay, Genesis, you've been waiting.
Does it have to be like science-y or
No.
history?
No. The only thing is it needs to relate to economics, so money if you want to talk about how Poor Florida's struggling right now because their tourist season was basically nixed because of Corona. So if you want to talk about how Florida's trying to basically raise revenue because no one could go to travel to them, no one could go to Disney World for so long, and that's what made it short. So economics, that's fine. It can relate to politics, so something like with the election or laws or something like that, that is fine for it. Or it can relate to social, so things like should we wear a mask, should we not wear a mask. All of that is fine. But don't just talk about the weather. Just talk about the weather. So not just about now if a hurricane hits, you want to talk about the social, economic impact of a hurricane on a community? Okay, but don't just say, this hurricane had this strength winds, it's a very devastating hurricane. Okay, no, this is not a weather report. Okay, Chris.
So could we do coronavirus and mask, or does it have to be coronavirus?
You can, what would be your topic to tie both those ideas together?
Coronavirus, and like what it does, and then mask and why you should wear it.
It sounds like it would just be coronavirus as your topic, and yeah, that's fine if you're relating two ideas together.
Cool.
Alright, this is the grade board, so I thought I could go over that as well with you really quick. So as you can see, I'm going to try to zoom up a little bit closer so you can see it a little bit better. Wow. Alright, so proper heading, length, and format. Make sure you have it. Bring proper citations for both articles. Bringing the articles to class, so it's worth 5 points. Just bring them. If you don't have them, you have to go dig them up now. Points off. So make sure you have them. Raise your hand. Yeah. How do you do what? That's literally what I heard. What is it?
How many do you lose?
How many do are like for articles?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well what's this number right here next to it?
4.
Well, why don't you try to read it again?
Is that a 5 or a 3?
It's a 5. Okay, 5. So you lose 5 points for not bringing the articles to class. So just bring them. You don't have them. Alright, accuracy of article number 1, 20 points. Accuracy of article number 2, 20 points. Clear professional opinion, 15 points. So have a good professional opinion. Should be 15 easy points for y'all. Alright, the presentation part typically throws off students a little bit more because yes, you have to present to the class. Alright, so posture and poise. That means having a nice standing, be able to stand with good posture. Don't hide behind my thing. Don't lean on my desk. Don't try to slouch on the desk. So make sure you are standing with good, proper poise. Don't put your hands in your pockets because it looks slouchy. So just stand. If you hold a card, it'll help you to hang on to it. You've already heard this speech, and I'm sorry, you can hear it again. So it'll help you to hang on to it. Alright, eye contact. So like I was saying earlier, that eye contact, if you just keep staring at the same person throughout your whole speech, it starts to make people feel kind of uncomfortable and it starts to get kind of weird. So don't stare at one person the entire time. Try to make eye contact with everybody. If you don't want to look at 7th grade, that's fine. You don't have to look at 7th grade. But you want to try to look at your own people as much as possible. If you're really nervous, you can look at the back, because I will probably be sitting there, and you can look at me. Do not stare at the ceiling. The person that shall remain nameless used to stare at the ceiling the entire time. Don't do that. Don't do that. Make eye contact with people. Wait. Jaden, see me after class. Alright, so enthusiasm, moves, and expression. If you come up here talking about coronavirus, corona is a virus. This is very dangerous. Okay, that's not enthusiasm, smoothness, and expression. Pick something that you actually like, that you're actually interested in. So if you want to talk about coronavirus and masks, pick something that you're interested in. So find something that you can actually talk about. Because since you are juniors and you have 2 articles to talk about, this one's not 1 minute. This editorial is 3 to 5 minutes now. So you can make it, you'll be fine. You have 2 articles. Sorry, Brecken. But you have enough information to hopefully make it the 3 to 5 minutes now. So again, once you make it to the 3 minutes, you're done. You have 2 articles. Talk. And then have an opinion about it. So just keep talking 3 to 5 minutes. You will be fine. Preparation for oral delivery. As a side note, because it is 3 to 5 minutes now, highly recommend you bring the 3x5 cards. You still can't bring your papers. Still can't do it. So you still have to have it. Nope. I know Mrs. Morrison let you do it. Nope. Not doing it. So you have to be able to have 3x5 cards. If you want to bring a whole stack of 3x5 cards, that is fine. But you need to have 3x5 cards. Plus, it helps you with your posture and poise. Because most students, if they don't hang on to something, they get really fidgety and they start messing with everything else that they could possibly be doing besides what they're actually talking about. I have seen students mess with hair, I've seen students start organizing my desk, I have seen students do random stuff because they're not doing it. So, I'm taking points off for gestures though at that point for it. So, hang on to something. This will help you with fidgeting. If your hands are stuck holding something, typically they won't mess with anything else. So, preparation for oral delivery, bring it for it. Gestures and mannerisms, just make sure that you're not doing anything overly distracting. Typically it doesn't happen because most students are so nervous they don't do things. I used to have a student that would pace the front of the room. The students would count how many times that he would basically make laps in the front of the room. Most people don't do that anymore. So, just make a note that you want to make sure that you're having good posture and good poise the whole time. Alright, I think that is everything. So time requirements, you can make it or you don't, so 3 to 5 minutes. I will let you know as you get close to it. But make sure you have enough information to last yourself the entire time. Okay, Chris.
Did you lose points for that facing?
Yep.
How many?
Well, gestures and mannerisms, every first one I put it under, but I think he did lose the full 5 just because I talked to him about it, and then I kept talking about it. Finally, he was like, nah, you're not fixing it. But I gave him a couple of
Is he still
like
going?
warning for it. It was a long time ago, actually. So he graduated. Alright.
What? How?
So,
I'm calling you
alright,
young.
alright, anyone have any questions about this before we move on? Alright, so let's go ahead and get out your textbooks and get out a piece of paper so you can write down as we do a very brief review. Not really enough to do a review game yet, because we don't have a whole lot of time yet. But hopefully at the end of class, hopefully, we might do one at the end. So go ahead and have a piece of paper though, because as I'm asking questions, if you realize, oh, I don't know this, then you should go ahead and start to review it and to be aware for it. So that way, if we do start having review games or quizzes, you will be ready to start taking them and make good educated guesses, or hopefully actually know them. Alright, like for example, who was the Viking adventurer from Scandinavia that landed in North America about 1000 AD? And as far as we know, we think he was the very first person to discover America.
Leif Erikson.
Good job. Alright, let's see, what is the name for that confederacy or that group of Indians that all bonded together and they kept peace within their section, but they warred against other nations around them? Ethan, do you remember? Good job, the Iroquois Confederacy. What do you call the, oh, as a side note, be sure to close up your textbooks that way you can't cheat right now. Reckon you do as well. Alright, what is the name for one of the ancient Indian groups we talked about very loosely yesterday? Sure.
Aztec, the Incas. Oh, there's another one that starts with an A, right?
Oh, you're thinking of the ones that made the adobe dwellings in the south, but there are 3 major civilizations. So Aztec, Incas, and what's the ones that started with an M?
In the mines.
Mayans, good job. Alright, what is the, I guess, economic or social aspect whenever all life centers on the ownership and use of land? What do we call that? Okay, alright, Ethan? Sorry, wrong name. Chris. Feudalism. Alright, what do you call the poor people that were tied to the land and they just worked it? And they basically will work the same plot of land that their parents worked, and their kids would work the same plot of land that they worked. Ethan. The what? Okay, no, they owned land. Who were the poor slaves, basically?
Serfs.
Serfs, good job. Alright, what do you call that new class that was developing? So as you have this group of people, they're going back and forth as traders and bringing back goods. The middle class. Alright, what do you call the, I guess, the holy battles, I guess is the best way to put it, where the English and Spanish and sometimes French kings would go over to help free Israel and surrounding lands for Christendom. Crusades, or the Crusaders. And then what do we call it in Spain in particular whenever they're trying to drive out the Muslims from not North America, the Muslims from Africa? Ethan?
Was it the Holy War?
It is a type of holy war because they were basically driving out the Muslims, but it has a different name in Spain. They keep this name whenever they come over and try to evangelize the Native Americans.
I'm not gonna know it.
Reconquista, or the Reconquistadors. Good job. Let's see. Oh, we talked about the last thing about were the 4 major nations to come out of the Middle Ages. Name one. France. Name another, Ethan.
Great.
Good job, or England at this time. Alright, what's another one? Did you say Europe? It's another nation. So we said England. Which one did you say, Chris? I forgot.
That's the thing.
I think you said Spain. Alright, what's another one? So Spain, England. It's okay, Joseph? Nope. Portugal, what's the last one?
France.
France. So those are
No,
the
I said
four.
France. I said
couldn't remember
I said
which one
France,
you said.
Spain, and Portugal.
Alright, so just make it up. Those are the four rising nation states. Right after the Middle Ages. Those are the four major powers that came out for it. Alright, I think that's where we left off last class period. So go ahead and turn over to page 5 for talking about the Renaissance. Alright, so Renaissance, this means rebirth. What was happening was we're having a revival of learning. Now this is not the Christian revival yet. We'll talk more about that one a little bit later on. Oh, really quick as well, I forgot to, I went and I found some better pictures of the Adobe structures and villages. So this picture's a little bit farther
same
away.
one?
Wait, raise your hand.
Is that the same one?
Yeah, but I figured out it was the angle for it because it looks really small in this picture. Here's a picture where they show it with people, so it's a little bit easier to see. Oh, okay, that's how tall it is, and that's how large it goes up. So I know it looks kind of like a little bitty sandcastle, but these are people that are out exploring and just checking out the different structures for it. So it helps you kind of get a better perspective of, oh, that's what it looks like. I think the ones I showed you yesterday, because the angle was kind of weird and because there was no people around, it's a little bit hard to judge how tall it is. Remember correctly, I went to a website where these are located. It's not a monument, but it's a national reserve basically where they keep it separate and it's kind of like a park. I believe they said that there's 80 individual rooms in this particular section of this particular village. So again, this is someone's basically whole community, I guess, for back in the day, their whole town. Again, I like these pictures a little better. I'll probably swap them out because they show it a little bit better as opposed to the angles from mine. Mine were pretty, but I think they distort how it kind of looks a little bit. Alright, we talked about how this is one reason why you're having nation states were trying to look for water routes. But before they could go, before they were figuring out with how to travel better, they had to have this revival of learning. Does anyone know who were the mainly educated people of the Middle Ages? Anyone remember? I know this is world history.
The Cardinals?
Okay, so they were the what group were they part of?
Oh, the Catholic Church.
Yeah, so most of the educated people at this time were basically the Roman Catholic Church. Sometimes the kings and queens, but not a whole lot. It was mainly the Catholic Church. So you had to have this renaissance or revival in learning first off to figure out, okay, how can we build better ships? How can we have better ways of traveling? How can we build things better to get from point A to point B? So that's what your book talks about between the 1300s and 1600s. Europe experienced this revival of learning or the Renaissance. It literally means rebirth. In Italy, mainly the Renaissance revived the classical literature and scientific ideas of ancient Greece and Rome. So again, this would be wrong, but were ancient Greece and Rome were they a Christian nation in ancient times? No, not really till later. So because of that, it was learning, it was education, but still not centered in God and not focused on the Bible. It wasn't until later, as the Renaissance spread into other areas, that's whenever it started taking on, we should study the Bible again. We should focus on reading the Bible. And so right now, they're focusing on just becoming more educated, which isn't a bad thing, but they were ignoring God. Your book points out that there were two new inventions at the time that helped them to be able to travel by sea, in particular the astrolabe. That one is used to determine latitude. Now, why do you need to know latitude? Brecken should know very well why we need to know latitude. Why we need to know latitude. So that way you can basically travel on the ocean, because are there a lot of landmarks out in the ocean? Sort of. Okay, on the water, are there a lot of landmarks? No. You could use the stars, but do the stars stay in the same spot every single night? They do? Even with the different seasons? There's only one star that stays really in the same general spot. Right here? Which one? Yep. Now, what about the other stars? Yeah, because remember you have the zodiac, or you have the different constellations for different seasons. So you can use them loosely. Know, okay, at this point of the year I should be using this. But it's one of those to where, okay, if you're going all the way across the ocean, you might want something that's a little bit more exact than just, okay, I'll follow that. there's not a lot of room for ever, otherwise you might be going in a very big circle for a very long time until you die. So that's part of the reason why knowing this, where latitude was a good invention for them, so they could go straight line across the ocean and hopefully get there. And then also a compass as well. Now, what does a compass tell you, Ethan?
North, south, north, east, southwest.
Okay, that works. But yeah, so basically it tells you the different directions around you. And again, important, so that's how you know what direction you're going. So that way, not only are you going in a straight line, you want to go in the same direction with the straight line. So that was able to help them as they're getting across the ocean. Not quite yet. The sailors aren't quite brave enough to go across the oceans yet. But again, even traveling next to Africa, they want to make sure that they don't get too far away. Alright, one of the major inventions of this era was the movable type printing press. Now, you'll notice that that was one of the dates I wrote on the board yesterday, and so you still want to know it. So, if you didn't mark it yesterday in your book, you definitely want to mark it today, 1440. That's the date for the movable type printing press. So definitely mark that one in your book, 1440. You want to note that one as the date for the invention of the movable type printing press. It was invented by Johann Gutenberg, so make it up for him. Now, he printed what he thought was the most important book, and we would agree that the Bible was the most important book. Now, why is it important that he invented the movable type printing press? Why is that particularly important? Okay.
Because they can mass produce different books now. So they can mass produce the Bible and get it to more people so they can read the word instead of being very much like Catholic Church.
That was part of it, and that's part of the reason why he did it, was trying to help out people. But then also other books as well, mass producing them. So that's part of the reason why books today are relatively cheap. If you wanted a book back then, what did you have to do?
Buy it yourself.
Yeah, or pay somebody else to copy it for you. It was typically really, really expensive. So this greatly lowered the cost of books in general, and it made it easier and faster. So that way, you can mass produce the book. Now, he chose the Bible, which was really, really, really good. But you can also mass produce other books as well, so that way you can get information out to people faster for it. Alright, so the Protestant Reformation, once you have the Bible being able to be mass printed at this point, now it's not quite as fast as probably how you think it is with printers today, but it was still a lot faster for it. The Reformation, we say officially begins in 1517. This is also one of the dates that I wrote down yesterday on the board, so definitely mark it in your book, or mark it on the timeline at the front of the chapter if you didn't do it yesterday. So, 1517, this is whenever Martin Luther, he nailed his 95 theses to the Roman Catholic door, asking them basically, here's 95 questions that I have about the doctrines that you're teaching. Now, keep in mind, whenever Martin Luther did that, he wasn't being defiant. He's not just nailing it to the church door, basically saying, here's all the problems with the Roman Catholic Church. That was how they traditionally asked questions back in the day. You would basically like post a letter or post questions, and it was to kind of like start a discussion. It's not like he was being defiant. He originally wrote it in Latin too. Now keep in mind, who could speak Latin during the Middle Ages? Popes. Can anybody else really speak Latin? Not a lot. And so because of that, he was basically asking, hey, I'm reading the Bible, and I'm hearing what you're teaching, and they don't really match up. Here's 95 questions that I have. Please answer them for me. Well, someone else saw it, and they knew, hey, those are some good questions. Copied them and put them into English and German and let it spread out throughout the rest of the country, or countries around it. And that's how people started finding out, oh, there's a lot of problems with the Roman Catholic Church. His main problem was the selling of indulgences. Anyone remember what indulgences are from world history?
Isn't it to save yourself from hell?
Yeah, you can basically buy your way out of hell, which, okay, that doesn't make sense at all. But that was the idea. So he was saying, I have a big problem with this. The Bible does not show this at all. And so that's what he was saying. Here's a bunch of other issues, but here's my main one. Okay.
Or your local.
Yeah, and so it's basically money, and so that's how Martin Luther basically got very upset, understandably, because he's saying you can't say rich people can buy out of this. That's not fair. Which he's right, that's not fair. And so that was the start of his questions for it. Because of this, though, the Reformation still started spreading and spreading out where Christians, people started wanting to know, what does the Bible actually say? Let's look to the Bible, not just believe what the Roman Catholic Church says. Let's look and see what the Bible says. And so that started off with that springboard as well for it. And so that's how it started growing. Alright, so just make a note, movable type printing press, 1440, the Protestant Reformation, 1517, so just make a note of that. Alright, your book points out one of the other key leaders, besides Martin Luther with the Protestant Reformation, is John Calvin. Make a note of him as well. This is not the same as like Calvinists today. Sometimes students get that a little bit confused and a little bit messed up, but don't worry about it. I know the names are very similar. It's not quite the same thing. He was just another really important person that helped spread Christian doctrines throughout the Middle Ages, early into the modern era. Alright, flip page. Alright, your book points out that his followers were called several different names depending on where they're at in the world. So just make a note of them. I know it can be a little bit confusing. The Huguenots were in Holland, the Dutch Reformed were in Scotland, Presbyterians in England, sorry, I got the name right. In France they were known as the Huguenots. In Holland they were called the Dutch Reformed. In Scotland they were the Presbyterians. In England they were the Puritans. Today the denominations are a little bit more separate, but these were basically the same thing, all different versions of a type of Christianity. They have the same basic ideas, right? But they were just called different things traditionally. So just make a note of their name in the areas. So in France, Huguenots, Holland, Dutch Reformed, Scotland, Presbyterian, and England, the Puritans. This is the main one we associate with it. Okay.
Quick question.
Not today.
Tomorrow.
Maybe. Day 3.
Day 3. Is that when this morning happened?
Maybe. Should be ready.
Right.
Alright, moving on. So, a new world to explore. So, exploration starts to kind of take off at this point. This is whenever this picture officially comes into play. Now, they originally were going across Europe and Asia. Typically, if you wanted to trade with the Orient, you would go this direction across it. Or if you wanted to cheat, you could use the Mediterranean, go across this direction. Typically, not this way a whole lot because of the Ural Mountains. You could squeak by, but typically it was more through this direction. Typically considered the easier route. Now, bandits figured out, all the traders and caravans will go on the same routes. This is easy for us. You already seen me after class, I'll make it worse. This is the bandits and traders will figure out that they want to use the same routes over and over and over again. So people started figuring out we need to go with different routes. Well, the land, there was only so many ways through the mountain passes. So different European leaders said, we want to go by sea. There's got to be a better sea route to get over there. So the first way they looked at was, let's go around Africa. Now, they did not know how large Africa was at the time, but they thought, okay, if we eventually go this direction, eventually, it's got to look back around, right? And so that's what come that they would eventually try that first stop port. But keep in mind, these are early ships, so that's what comes that they kind of hug the coastline of Africa, except down here. So that's part of the reason why they did it, because as they're getting farther and farther and farther away, can y'all give permission? Okay, just be sure to raise your hand and get permission before you just start walking. So that's part of the reason is to have them, they would stay close to the coastline and not just go all the way around it. Because their ships weren't that well, plus it makes sailors nervous to get too far away. So one of the major kind of leaders of exploration was Prince Henry the Navigator. So just making it up. So Prince Henry the Navigator of Portugal, he was a prince of Portugal, and he was very interested in exploring. He thought exploration was very cool and very interesting. Plus, he knew it was very valuable. So he started trying to fund people to basically go explore. One like Portugal kind of comes up as like a major power is because that he wanted people to go out and explore. He employed expert map makers, he built observatories to study the position of the stars, and he designed, or had his school design a new type of ship to make it easier, and so that he could sail faster on the water as well. That's the reason why Portugal kind of starts off and takes the lead in this. Alright, there are 2 explorers that you need to know on this page. There's going to be a whole lot of other ones, but here's the first 2 that you need to know. So, Bartolomeu Diaz, they used to pronounce his name Bartholomew, so I always learned it up. They changed up the spelling and pronunciation a little bit. So, Bartolomeu is how they say it now. They're trying to give it, I believe, is more and more of his native pronunciation, Diaz. That he reached the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. He made it down here, and then he decided, I don't know how much longer this is going to take, I'm going back home. So he should have just gone this direction, but he didn't know that at the time. He just knew, okay, I'm going to follow. Okay, it's turning around. I'm going back home. I don't know how much longer this takes. Keep in mind that they have to bring their own supplies plus their own crew to help them with it. So he decided, okay, I made it here. This is fine. Close enough. I'm going back. Now, Vasco da Gama, he was the one that was ready, and that he decided, I'm going to try to go all the way around it. And because of Diaz's previous exploration, Diaz was actually an advisor to him and helped him get ready and helped tell him, this is what you need to do as you're going for it. So, Diaz, he made it to the Cape of Good Hope, while Vasco da Gama, he was able to make it all the way around to India at this point. So, just make a note of those two. So, Bartolomeo Diaz and Vasco da Gama. Make note of those two in particular. Alright, Christopher Columbus. Christopher Columbus decided that he's not going to go around Africa. He's going to go this direction and just cut across the ocean to reach the New World. Now, Christopher Columbus and most educated people of his day, the educated people, most of them understood that the earth is probably round. Now, they did not know it for sure at the time, but they understood that, okay, it's probably round. Now, the uneducated people, like the sailors, they thought that the earth was flat, that if you just kept going, you'd eventually go, whoa, and fall off the world. But most educated people, because of how the stars moved, they understood, okay, this is probably a circle. But, like again, the sailors, they were more nervous about it. Because of that, Christopher Columbus said, okay, if I start over here in Portugal, I can go this direction and eventually land over here in the Indies, as they call this whole section of India and the other islands around it. So he thought, if I keep going that direction, I'll eventually make it. There were two major problems with his idea. The first one was he thought that the Earth was a lot smaller than it actually is. He did not realize how large the Earth was. And then secondly, he thought that the ratio of land to water was a little bit different than what it actually was. Because the Roman Church had added on extra books onto the Bible based on what those books said, it made it seem like that there was more land than water, which we know that the earth has way more water than land. So based on those two ideas, he thought, okay, I should be able just to go and it'll be fine. And in reality, it's not fine. Alright, so he approached Portugal first, and he approached a couple of other nations first, trying to get them to fund him. Because of various other things at the time, they said that they couldn't fund him at the time. He went to Spain eventually. Now, Ferdinand and Isabella, they were interested in funding their own version of the Crusades. Who remembers what he called the Spanish Crusades from driving out the Moors? I talked about this earlier. Alright, Chris? Alright, close. So, the Reconquista is what you call like the actual wars. So, Reconquistadors, that's the ones whenever you actually call the actual people doing it. So, because of that, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain, they were too busy with their crusades at the time. So they said, I can't fund you right now, maybe later on. Once they drove out the Moors though, now they had time and now they had extra money, and they said, oh, okay, yeah, we'll fund you. We're interested in exploring too as well, so yeah, we'll fund you to go across. Portugal was already funding people to go around Africa, so yeah, maybe your idea is right. We'll start going that direction as well. So he had 3 ships, make a note of them. The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Make a note for those 3 as well for it. Oh, I forgot my picture of Martin Luther. Moving on. Christopher Columbus. Moving on. Alright, so this is his journey that he took going over into the New World. He never actually landed in North America, like how we think of with the United States. Technically, he landed in the Bahamas area down here. But he's given credit for discovering the New World because it's islands that are connected to North America. So he discovered them in 1492. This is one of the dates that I wrote down yesterday, just so you know. So 1492, make a note, that's whenever Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and discovered America. So make a note of his 3 ships, plus the year they actually came over. He technically landed at San Salvador in the Bahamas, so technically it's not North America or South America, it's the islands down here, but just make a note for it. Alright, Chris, did you have a question?
Yeah, could he not see Florida?
I guess not from that angle, or maybe he thought it was another island and he just ignored it at the time. He actually came over to the New World 4 different times, but he was basically down here in the Bahamas area, not really North America or South America. Alright, so just make a note that also the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria, that they came over and discovered America in 1492. His crew almost mutinied He actually lied whenever he wrote in his logbook how far they were traveling. He actually lied how far away that they were getting from Europe, which was making his sailors so nervous. He told them that they were a lot closer than they actually were. Christopher Columbus, if you study him, and if you've heard what other people have said, you know that Christopher Columbus was not the best of people. He had some weird ideas, and he was kind of a mean person in some instance. Your book doesn't really talk about this a whole lot, but he landed on his 4th trip. He landed in some islands, I believe in Jamaica, and he was kind of stuck there and stranded there. And so that's because of that, he asked the Native Americans at the time to keep bringing him supplies. At first, they were okay with it. We're going to help out these poor people coming over onto our land. We'll give them food, we'll give them water. This dragged on for about 6 months. And at that point, the Native Americans said, no, we don't want to do this anymore. You need to be leaving. We don't want to keep giving you supplies. Well, Christopher Columbus, he had looked at what was their time kind of like a science book. It was an almanac that basically listed off different astronomical events like lunar eclipses and other things with the stars. And he figured out kind of how like the Mayans did whenever they made their Mayan calendar so far in advance. The person at his time, they had actually predicted so far in the future that you could see lunar eclipses at certain points. So Christopher Columbus actually figured out what day the lunar eclipse was supposed to occur, when it would occur, and he told the Native Americans that their selfishness had displeased his Christian God. And his Christian God will turn will turn the moon red to help show how angry he is and how his judgment he will have on you for not sharing food with us. Well, the Native Americans didn't really know at the time what was happening with the lunar eclipse. So whenever the lunar eclipse started, and the lunar eclipse does cause the moon to turn that reddish color, it freaked out the Native Americans, and so they went to Christopher Columbus and begged him to pray to his God to help save them, and they'll give him food and any other resources that he needs. And so it's one of those, Christopher Columbus basically tricked the Native Americans to try to get them to give him food and supplies instead of just leaving or getting help like a normal person. And they actually have records of this in Christopher Columbus's logbook. His son recorded what had happened and what Christopher Columbus said. So it's one of those, you don't really hear about that a whole lot. But it's kind of like an interesting, weird thing that Christopher Columbus did. And again, Christopher Columbus, was not the best person in the world, but he did discover America. And that's one of the reasons why we still talk about him. Because even though, character-wise, might not have been a super good person, he still did some great things. So that's something just to be aware of. Whenever you hear about a lot of the things he did to Native Americans, yeah, not the best person. He eventually dies a very frustrated and upset man because he did not want to be known for discovering a new landmass. He wanted to be known for discovering the water route to the Orient. He didn't care if this was a whole new landmass, and he basically just wanted to be known for what he wanted to be what he wanted to discover. So that's kind of like a side note that even though what God has planned for you throughout your life, don't let what you want to become the focus over what you want to be successful. He was used to discover America, but he didn't want that, and he was unhappy with it. That's the reason why ultimately he kind of died sad and unhappy, because he wanted to be known for discovering the water route, not discovering America. Alright, well, the first person to really kind of figure out that this is a whole new landmass, and we should treat it as such, was Amerigo Vespucci. Mark his name at the top of the next page really quick. So Amerigo Vespucci, make a note of him, mark him, that he was the person, and the person kind of say, this is not just a chunk of land off the coast of India or off the Indies, which is what a lot of people at the time thought. He was saying, no, this is like a whole different area. The constellations are different. There's a lot of other signs that this is a whole new area. We should call it a whole new area. And so in his honor, the geographers at the time named the new landmass America after him. So Amerigo Vespucci, take note of him, and the new land was named America after him. Alright, with that, we'll stop there just about our time. Your homework for tonight. Read pages 8 to 11. 8 to 11. Answer page 11, questions 1 through 9. Answer page 11, questions 1 through 9. And don't forget, your editorials are due next Wednesday, so don't forget about it. Alright, we covered a lot of terms today, so thinking back over it, what is the date for the movable type printing press? I know you're observing. Okay, wait, Chris? 1440. What is the date for the start of the Protestant Reformation? Genesis. What is the
What?
date for the start of the Protestant Reformation?
Date.
The date?
1710.
Wait,
Good
wait.
job. Alright, who discovered America? Technically, it actually gets credit for it. Alright,